In today's video, I'm going to be discussing the common mistakes when you're trying to install your own home solar system with battery storage. And I'll also show you how easy it is to melt a wire if you size those wires incorrectly. So let's get right into it. So the first mistake I'll talk about is running too small of wire, either from your solar panels going back to your inverter or from your batteries to your inverter. Now, it's pretty hard to get the volts side of things wrong when it comes to wiring your solar panels back to your inverter or your batteries, because THWN wire, which is what a lot of us use, stranded wire to make long runs going from our solar panels back to the inverter, that's rated for 600 volts. And while we do have some inverters now that are capable of handling 600 volts, like the one you see behind me, the EG4 FlexBoss 21, that can handle up to 600 volts from your solar panels to the charge controllers on the inverter. And also on the 2-aught and 4-aught battery cables that we're used to using on these whole home systems that are 48 volts. Those can also handle typically up to 600 volts. So again, the volts are really not an issue. What we need to watch out for are the amps or the current running through those wires. That's what heats up those wires if you put too much through it. So now let me show you a little example of what happens when you run too many amps through these wires.
So I am going to use this DC power supply to run DC power through this little 26 gauge wire here. You see the positive on one end, the negative on the other. And with this power station, I can push through up to 100 volts and up to 21 amps. So the volts are at the top there. The amps are at the middle, and then the watts are at the bottom, total wattage. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set it to 12 volts. And then this 26 gauge wire is rated for between 2 and 3 amps. So we're going to start putting amps through this thing, and you're going to see the wire start to heat up. So there we go. At 2 amps, you don't see any heat really. At 3, you really don't. But as I start to go up to 4, you're going to start to see the wire start to turn orange. There you go. At 4 amps, the wire's heating up. That's not even twice what the wire's rated for, or over what the wire's rated for, and we're heating up. And as I go up 5, 6, you're seeing more and more glowing, and at this point you're going to cause a fire in your house if you're pushing that many amps through a wire that it's not rated for. And then once you get to a certain amount of amps, the wire just completely melts like you see here. So that's an example of why you don't want to put too many amps through these wires. Now this is a 14 gauge wire, and it is rated for up to 15 amps. This is kind of common for your typical electrical outlets inside your house. So I'm going to push it up to 49 volts, and then we'll just start pushing amps through it. Now again, this is rated for 15 amps, so once we get past 15 amps, the wire will start to heat up, but the max amount of amps I can put through this is 21, and while this wire is heating up, because that is over what it's rated for, it's not going to melt. So now that you understand how amps can heat up wires, let's get back to those common mistakes.
And mistake number 2 that I see is not installing a DC isolator switch, basically a switch from your solar panels or mounted right near your solar panels that can kill power going back to your solar inverter. Now, a lot of people I've seen make the mistake of using like a switch rated for AC power, but remember, this is DC power. There is a difference there. And I have seen videos online of people who used those AC breakers, and they actually started arcing and catching on fire. So make sure you use a DC rated switch, and I will link to the ones that I have used and I have had no issues with at all. That'll be in a link in the description of this video. Now, I've used these DC switches many times if I just wanted to shut power going to my inverter and I wanted to swap out an inverter or do some sort of maintenance. Remember, solar panels don't have an on and off switch. If the sun's out, they're going to be pushing power. So you're going to want to have a way to kill that power from going back to your inverter in the event you do need to shut power down. Another mistake I see is having too few volts going from your solar panels back to your inverter, so there's not enough power there to even turn the inverter on and start actually sending power into your home or into your battery bank. Or even worse, too many volts going from your solar array into your charge controller. There's no faster way to destroy your inverter than pushing too many volts to it and frying the charge controllers. So you're going to want to make sure you understand series and parallel connections in solar panels, and how that open circuit voltage can be multiplied per panel in a series connection, and make sure you don't go over that. Now there's a lot of videos out there showing you how to do this. Make sure you understand that very well and do tests. Even after you put your solar panels together, test the voltage on them with a multimeter. It's not that expensive to pick up one of these, and I'll link to another one in the description of this video that I like. But then you can double check the volts aren't too high before you send that power into the charge controllers on your inverter. And another mistake I see is not using the correct size fuses or breakers for your system. If you are installing your own circuit breakers and fuses, you're going to need to make sure that they are rated for the right amount for the size wire that you are going to be putting into them. It doesn't matter if you put a breaker in place that's a 50 amp breaker when your wire is only rated for 20 amps. Let's say you're pushing 40 amps through that wire and it's only rated for 20 amps and the breaker's at 50 amps. Well, at 40 amps, you're going to melt that wire. It's going to turn into a fire, and that breaker's not even going to trip. So the breaker is essentially useless. So you have to make sure the breaker is sized for the size wire and amps you are using. Now, this is much less of a problem today, especially with the big inverters, the all-in-one whole home systems like this FlexBoss 21. It already comes with the circuit breakers included. So all you need to do is make sure you're sizing the wire correctly. And I'll have a link to this inverter. I really like this thing. If you're looking for a whole home system, check this inverter out. It is one of the biggest on the market, and it's very affordable. And I'll also have a link in the description of this video that you can click on to purchase that with a discount code as well. Now, another common mistake out there is not checking to make sure when you're working on your system that there is no volts running through it anywhere. That's what's critical about having those DC disconnect switches out there at the solar array. You can turn that off. And we used to have to work on batteries live because they didn't have a BMS, they didn't have switches or their own breaker. Now, like the battery you see behind me, the EG4 indoor wall mount battery, or their all-weather Pro 48 volt battery, those have a BMS and they both have a breaker and an on and off switch. So you can easily make sure those are off, double check it with a multimeter to be able to work on wiring those safely without any live voltage being pushed through them. Now, the solar arrays I have with my system are all pushing over 300, between 300 and 400 volts. You do not want to get shocked by that. That is deadly. In fact, the solar panel array, that high voltage, is the most dangerous part of the system, in my opinion. Now, because of that, I don't even connect my solar panels together, basically the series connection, until my whole system is wired and ready to go. That is the last thing I do. And even when I do connect those solar panels together finally, my system's 19,000 watts. I do not make those connections unless it's dusk or dawn. I do not want to do that when the sun is out. Again, I don't want to have any arcs as I'm connecting those together. So I highly recommend you either connect those at night or when the sun is down and there's very little light outside to be producing solar energy. And another common mistake is loose connections at the terminals. Whenever you're making connections, you need to quadruple check that those are torqued to the right specs. Because if those wires start to shake loose, and remember, electricity, especially AC electricity, it basically oscillates back and forth. That, if there's a loose connection, that will continue to wiggle loose over time. Those will start to heat up dramatically and could even cause a fire. So make sure all of your connections with wires are tight. Yank on them pretty hard, make sure they are firm. And the best way to do that is make sure you're using the proper tools for the job. And another mistake is not having some sort of surge protection on your system. Now, you just spent upwards of $75,000 on your system. Spend a little bit more and get some kind of surge protection on there. Now, I use EMP shields to connect to my charge controllers on my inverter. I also have one mounted on my home panel that protects my entire panel from a lightning strike, EMP blast, solar flares, any type of surge. That EMP shield should suck that surge out and send that to ground before it has a chance to destroy my appliances or my solar system. I do have a video of that on my channel from a couple years ago. Check that out if you don't know what these are, and I'll also link to those in the description of this video as well with the discount code. Now, since I installed my EMP shields on my system, that was about 2 years ago, I have not had an issue with lightning strikes or any type of surge. Now, before I did have that, I did have a lightning strike really close that ended up damaging a low voltage internet system I had on my property. Now, since I have installed the EMP shield, like I said, I haven't had any issues. Now, there's no way for me to guarantee these can work. There's a lot of argument online, and I see it in my comments about people saying there's no way these could work. Well, if I go on EMP Shield's website, I see they have the testing data. Now, I am not an electrical engineer when it comes to understanding that testing data, but other people are, and I haven't seen anybody completely dismiss those. And EMP Shield also has contracts with the federal government and with other grid operators, helping them to EMP proof their systems. So as best I can tell, they are legit. Well, that's it for now, everyone. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. I really want to push this channel over 20,000 subscribers. So if you can help me with that, I would appreciate it. All right, we'll see you all in the next video.